Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Sheila Payaki, the head of the Conservation Center here at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. Before we launch into the program, I want to take a moment to honor this time and place. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community, and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Again, thank you and welcome. Today's hybrid program is in conjunction with the special exhibition, Likeness and Legacy in Korean Portraiture, on view until November 29th. If you haven't seen the exhibition, we invite you to visit. If you're unable to come in person, please know that the exhibition catalog is available for purchase online in our museum website. We are in the Corette Education Room at the Asian Art Museum. Professor Chi-Sun Park is in her studio, Jungjae Conservation Center in Seoul, Korea. We'll begin the program with a brief overview of the exhibition and a discussion about the important conservation points. Then, Professor Park will join us from her studio in Seoul. She will present on the conservation and mounting of Joseon official portraits. There will be Q&A at the end of the program, but we invite you to submit your questions throughout the talk using the Q&A section on your Zoom link. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers, Honjong Kim Han and Shiho Sasaki. Honjong H.J. Kim Han is a Joseph DeHeer Curator of Asian Art at the Denver Art Museum. Before her recent appointment in Denver, H.J. served as a department head and associate curator of Korean art at the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco. She is the visionary force behind many compelling exhibitions, including Likeness and Legacy in Korean Portraiture. Shiho Sasaki has been the conservator of Asian paintings and paper at the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco since 2008. During her tenure, Shiho has elevated the Conservation Center, positioning us as a national and international center for the vibrant exchange of conservation practices and research. Welcome, HJ and Shiho.
Thank you, Sheila. The Likeness and Legacy in Korean Portraiture exhibition space encompasses Tateuchi Gallery on the second floor, museum's second floor, 6 cases and collections, Korean art collection galleries, and the 22 traditional artworks, 8 contemporary works, and educational conservation related material are mostly paintings, but there are also other genres like contemporary photograph, media art, and sculptures. And the loans of traditional artworks all came out of Korea for the first time. The main focus of this exhibition is Joseon Dynasty portraits, but it also discusses the broad concept of portraiture, like identities and relationship among commissioners, viewers, sitters, and artists during the Joseon Dynasty and in contemporary world. The motivation to organize this exhibition started in 2011, 1 year after I started working at the Asian Art Museum. Upon appointment, I assessed the whole entire collection of Korean art, and there were several numerous surprises. And the most pleasant one was the album of 8 draft portraits in the museum's study collection. The officials' faces are delicately and realistically depicted, clearly conveying each one's personal characteristics. And there is a Korean saying that if one hair on a sitters face is not rendered correctly, it is not his portrait. These portraits or the drafts realize this saying truthfully. However, Joseon portrait painters went further, and they also highly valued the sitter's characteristics and inner spirits in the portraits. During the extensive research, I was very curious about who the sitters, the 8 sitters in the draft portraits were, why they were grouped together, and in what context these portraits were created. These questions were compelling and meaningful. Now, I would like to explain very briefly an important historic moment during the Joseon dynasty related to these 8 draft portraits. In 1728, the 4th year of his reign, King Yeongjo faced what was likely to be the most serious challenge of his tenure. In a widespread campaign, the rebellion troops led by Lee In-ja were approaching the Joseon dynasty capital, today's Seoul. The rebellion mostly questions the mysterious death of the previous king, half-brother of King Yeongjo, King Yeongjo's accession to the throne, and the execution of officials who supported the previous king or who publicly questioned the circumstances of King Yeongjo's half-brother's death. King Yeongjo ordered several of his close officials to fight against the rebellion, and indeed the successful suppression of the rebellion fortified and stabilized King Yeongjo's regime, which lasted 52 years in total. So naturally for King Yeongjo, it was essential to acknowledge the officials who participated in defeating the rebellion. After the uprising was subdued, King Yeongjo appointed 15 of these men as meritorious officials, grouped them into 3 ranks based on their accomplishments, achievements, and titles. For the group title, King Yeongjo, named as Bunmu, which can be simply translated as renowned military. Upon the King Yeongjo's order, the Bureau for Recording Meritorious Deeds and Awards, Nokundogam, was created. The Bureau recorded every detail of the preparation process and execution in appointing Bunmu meritorious officials, as well as the ceremonies and rewards, including materials and resources used for both. The rewards and awards included numerous portraits of the meritorious Bunmu officials. This is the list of names and titles of 15 Bunmu meritorious officials. There are only 9 extant draft portraits today. 8 are in the Asian Art Museum's collection. And the other one, the draft portrait of Oh Myung-hang, is in Gyeonggi Provincial Museum in Korea. And the museum is lending the Asian Art Museum Oh Myung-hang's draft portrait for the show. So the whole extant 9 draft portraits of Bunmu meritorious officials are on display in the exhibition.
When HJ and I discovered the album, unfortunately, it was severely stained and fragile and not in a displayable condition. In 2012, with the support of the National Research Institute of Cultural Heritage in Korea, the album was sent to Professor Park for conservation treatment. When returned to the museum, each portrait was in its original format as individual sheets. During the conservation treatment, we were very fascinated by several findings in the portrait, especially the technique applied to them called reverse or back coloring, or bat peichae in Korean. The portrait painters applied colors on the backs of the paintings, creating the paintings with greater depth and rendering. In East Asia, reverse coloring was traditionally applied to important Buddhist paintings, portraits, and sometimes figure paintings. And it's rarely discovered in draft paintings. So we know that the painters put extreme care in creating these specific draft portraits. This aspect is highlighted in the exhibition, showing both sides of the all 8 draft portraits. I would like to explain the process of making portraits during the Joseon Dynasty. In the exhibition, we display some steps in creation of draft portraits and the painting of Isam. Those were produced by contemporary artist Tae-young Kim, who is joining us today as the interpreter for Professor Park. For creating draft portrait, step 1, outline was drawn using charcoal on paper. Prior to this, a plant sheet oil was applied on the paper. 2, the outlines were then traced using ink. 3, colors were applied on the back. 4, finish application of coloring. For producing a painting, stretch a picture silk on a wooden frame using paper hinges and water-based adhesive. Place the draft portrait underneath of the silk and trace the outlines. 3, coloring the back of the picture silk. 4, complete the coloring. As the court paintings, those portraits were executed using high-quality materials such as malachite and azurite. Those are also displayed in the exhibition. The portrait creation during the Joseon Dynasty was truly laborious and detail-oriented.
So the curatorial team was able to identify finished portraits based on the Asian Art Museum's draft portraits. Isam's portrait is one example. Here you see the draft portrait in the museum's collection and the half-length portrait in an album format of the same sitter, Isam, from the E family collection. The comparison between the finished portrait and the draft one reveals where the painter's processes and struggles or decision-making in creating his portrait.
The artist's collections with multiple lines on the shoulder suggests that the painter put significant thought into determining the right width for each shoulder. The white lines on the draft portrait you see on the images indicates the final decision reflected in the finished portrait. And the paintings for albums were created 1-to-1 ratio, and that will be changed depending on the format of the paintings.
The set of portraits, this exhibition also includes 3 different formats of portraits of one sitter, Oh Myung-hang, the only one official appointed as the first rank of Fumu meritorious officials. The set of portraits of Oh Myung-hang provides a rare example of draft portraits with finished several versions of full-length and half-length portraits of the same sitter. Here again, you can see the ultra-realistic depiction of the faces. These portraits show Oh Myung-hang's last month of his life. Clearly visible in his realistically depicted face is dark yellow hue, signaling his failing health.
As HJ mentioned, you see the three different formats in the image. The draft portrait on the left, full length in the center, and half length portrait of all. This slide shows the almost exact ratio of their sizes. The two finished portraits have the original mounting. In the exhibition, there is a very rare portrait of Isami in nature. It was created by his family long after his death. It was free from the royal protocol and appears that there are influences from Chinese court paintings, and he was depicted with an eagle, which is the symbol of power, strength, and courage. Isam, as a military officer, it was suitable setting for his portrait. Let's look at the mount style and materials used in between the three hanging scrolls. For all two scrolls produced based on the royal protocol, both mounts have two colored silk. For the most formal style of the full-length portrait, patterned silk and decorative tassel you saw in Korean were used. Meanwhile, for Isam's of the privately produced painting on the left, it has paper mount. Such differences in the mount fabric are also reflected in the knobs. Most finished knob is for the full-length scroll as carved wooden knobs, shown in the center. For the half length, plain wood was wrapped with colored silk. His portrait has plain painted wood.
So before moving to Professor Park's discussion on specific Joseon portraits treatment and mounting, I would like to briefly explain about the various types and functions of Joseon portraits. For king's portraits, as you see on this slide, court painters were summoned, and for each project, a royal protocol book was created. The royal portraits were stored and displayed in specific royal portrait halls and storages. Many of remained portraits of the Joseon dynasty are those of civil and military officials. They are in the formats of album leaves or hanging scrolls. The officials in formal attires have a stereotyped style. The sitters look their right without any background in the painting. In the hanging scroll, as on the Oh Myung-hang's portrait on your right, an official's Oh Myung-hang sits on chairs with tiger or leopard patterned throws. It is very rare to have a group portraits during the Joseon dynasty, as I believe there is only one or two extant cases, and one of them is this portraits of Cho brothers. During the Joseon dynasty, portraits were stored in family shrines, and they were brought out for certain dates for family rituals. And for eminent scholars, academies had special portraits halls to store the portraits and performed rituals on specific dates to worship their masters and mentors. Respected monks' portraits were created by monk painters and stored in temples. And there are very few women's portraits with their names revealed during the Joseon dynasty. One of the reasons were because most of painters were men who could not be in the same space with women in the Confucian society. In the late Joseon dynasty, some portraits of anonymous beauties were depicted. Self-portraits were extremely rare in the traditional Korean society. However, there exists the stunning self-portrait of Yoon Do-seo, who was an eminent painter himself during the 17th and early 18th century. Let's get back to some art historical points. Some written records and extant portraits of Bunmu officials prove that the draft portraits in the collection of the Asian Art Museum were made for the recreation portrait project in 1751, not 1728. Among the 8 officials that were depicted in the draft portraits, it is noteworthy to focus on Kim Jung-man. There is a full-length portrait of Kim Jung-man in Korea, and right now, Professor Park is treating it in her studio, and she's going to talk more about her conservation project. But interestingly, if you compare in the full-length portrait, Kim Jung-man looks quite young, very different from he does in the draft portrait at the Asian Art Museum. The portrait of Kim Jung-man as a young man on your right was undoubtedly made when he was appointed as a Bunmu meritorial official in 1728. However, in the museum's draft portrait, Kim Jung-man has a rounder, more wrinkled face and a beard. There are several written records tell that there was a recreation of Bunmu officials' portraits in 1751. And with this comparative example, we can come to the conclusion that the Asian Art Museum's draft portraits can be dated to 1751 as supported by numerous historical records. This data tells a very important fact that during the Joseon Dynasty, when portraits were recreated or copied, painters started by making new draft portraits as earlier drafts were generally destroyed. I think this is a great segue to hand over the mic to Professor Park Ji-sun in Seoul, but maybe Sheila, do you want to introduce her?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you, HJ and Shiho. It is now my honor to introduce Professor Park. Chi-Sun Park is professor in the Department of Conservation of Cultural Properties at Yongin University and director of the Korean Mounting and Conservation Association. She studied painting at Seoul National University and painting and book conservation at the Conservation Center of the Kyoto National Museum. She completed courses in Japan and earned her PhD in art history from Dongguk University. She established the Jungjae Conservation Center in Seoul, where she has completed numerous major conservation projects to restore Korean national treasures. She has studied the Joseon Dynasty's original mounting style, as well as how Korean, Japanese, and Chinese mountings differ. Welcome, Professor Park.
이제 새로 시작하면 되나요? 예, 안녕하세요. 서울입니다. 서울에서 여러분들한테 지금 샌프란시스코에서 전시하고 있는 한국 초상화에 대해서 조금 더 디테일하게 보여드릴 수 있어서 영광입니다.
We are honored to introduce Joseon Dynasty's mounting style to the audience today.
지금 사실 통역해주고 있는 이 친구는 거기 지금 샌프란시스코에서 전시하고 있는 그 샘플들을 제작을 해준 화가입니다.
The interpreter, which is me, is one of the artists for the replica painting for the draft portrait that is exhibited in the museum at now.
자, 전시에서 보셨던 것처럼 그림을 장황해서 족자를 만드는 데는 여러 가지 재료가 필요합니다.
There are a lot of materials needed for the mounting process of a painting.
그러니까 한국이고 중국이고 일본이고 그 마운팅 프로세스를 장황이라고 하죠.
The Joseon Dynasty mounting process is called 장황.
제가 장황이라는 단어를 조금 더 강조하는 이유는 사실은 일본 식민지 시대에는 이 장황이라는 단어가 다 표고라는 단어로 바뀌어서 거의 장황이란 단어는 쓰이지 않았었습니다.
The reason why I am emphasizing Changhwang as the name for the mounting process is that during the Japanese occupation era, the word pyogu was replaced Changhwang, so that she wants to recover the original name Changhwang.
그래서 한국 장항에 대해서 기록이라든지 유물을 보고 연구를 한 결과에 장항이라는 단어를 이제는 한국에서도 모든 미술사 하는 선생님들도 다 쓰게 되었고, 저도 장황이라는 단어 안에서 한국의 그 서화문화재를 설명하고자 합니다.
So that under the study of historical documentations, we have replaced the word pyogu from pyogu to Changhwang, and from now on we would like to use Changhwang in order to talk about Joseon Dynasty's paintings, mounting style.
그림을 화가가 그린 다음에 그 주위를 아름다운 비단으로 장식하게 되죠.
When the artist is done painting the painting will be decorated with beautiful materials.
전시회에서도 보셨겠지만 두 가지 비단, 즉 파란색과 하얀색 두 가지 비단이 사용됩니다.
As you can see from the exhibition, in mounting styles, we use two different colored silk. One is blue and one is white.
전시에서 보시면은 하얀색이 누런색으로 보였을 거예요.
If you look at the exhibition now, the white silk might have been looked yellow.
그거는 시간이 지나면서 약간 갈색으로 변한 거죠.
That's because the time passing, the white silk would become brownish tone.
장황에 쓰이는 비단은 사람의 계급에 따라서 그 문양을 달리합니다.
The patterns on their silks differs from the status of the portrait sitter.
이 비단은 운문단이라고 하여서 임금님의 추상에 쓰이는 문양입니다.
The patterns on this silk is called unmun pattern, which is used normally for kings.
구름 문양이 보이시죠?
Can you see the cloud patterns?
그리고 일반 공신에는 지금 분무공신에 쓰인 비단인데요. 이 꽃무늬라든지 꽃무늬와 식물 덩쿨 모양입니다.
This pattern is used for the meritorious officials' portraits, which is flowers and veins.
공신초상에 쓰이는 문양은 그때그때 유행에 따라서 문양이 달라집니다.
The patterns used on the meritorious officers' painting mountings are differed from time to time.
하지만 어진에 쓰인 것은 계속 이 운문단이 쓰이고 있죠.
But on contrary, the patterns used for the king's portraits are mostly cloud patterns.
반면에 일반 사대부 초상에는 이런 문양이 없는 비단이 쓰입니다.
In comparison, the ones that used for the nobles' portraits are used without patterns.
그냥 일반 집에서도 짤 수 있는 비단이죠.
These are normally able to be made within the household.
파란색이 쓰이기도 하고 간혹 녹색이 쓰이기도 합니다.
Mostly blue are used, but at certain points, green is also used.
그리고 하얀색이 쓰이게 되죠.
And also, white will be with it.
그러니까 기본적으로 단순하게 바깥의 비단 문양보다는, 그러니까 비단 문양을 최소하게 단순화하면서 안에 초상화 그림이 보이게 그림을 강조하는 것이 한국의 장황입니다.
To emphasize the painting rather than the mounting style is the style of Joseon Dynasty.
그래서 일본의 장황 같은 경우는 비단을 굉장히 중요하게 생각하지만 조선 시대에는 그렇게 바깥의 비단은 중요하지 않았던 것 같습니다.
The outer silk, in terms of Japanese mounting style, the silk and the elaboracy was very important. However, Joseon Dynasty's outer silk was not as important as the portrait.
그러니까 그림을 아름답게 꾸미지만 보조적인 역할을 하는 것이 비단이죠.
So the silk will be used to decorate the painting, but it will be on the emphasis of the painting itself.
다음으로 이제 여기서 제가 잠깐 족자를 가지고 왔는데요.
We have brought some hanging
볼 수
scrolls.
있을까? 따라와 주실 수 있으신가요? 지금 초상화를 보시면 여기 위에 상축이 위에 나무와 아래 나무가 있습니다.
There are two rods in a painting, the upper rod and the under rod.
한국의 상축은
Korean rods,
상축의 형태를 보면 이게 이제 위에 달려있는 그림 위에 달려있는 나무인데요.
this is the actual
보여요.
rod used in the upper part of the portraiture.
요거를 조금 이 옆에 상축의 형태를 설명하자면 이렇게 됩니다.
The shape of the upper rod is such.
일반적으로 우리가 많이 보는 것이 중간에 반달 모양.
We are normally used to the half cylinder shape in the middle.
지금 한국에서 사용되고 있는 족자도 이 일본식으로 되기 때문에 중간에 있는 반달 모양으로 많이 쓰이고 있습니다.
Even in contemporary portraiture mountings, because it's Japanese style, we are using a lot of half cylinder shape in the middle.
하지만 전통적인 조선시대의 족자의 상축을 보면은 삼각형 모양을 띤 이러한 형태입니다.
But the traditional style of the mounting upper part of the rod would be in a triangular shape.
그러니까 세 나라 다 특징이 있죠.
All three countries has their own differences.
그리고 이제 이 상축에다가 그림을 걸기 위한 고리를 다는데요.
And then the ring is added for the hanging purpose.
이 고리는 조금 특이합니다.
The rings are unique in shape.
그림에다 못을 박고 장식이 있고 그 위에 동그란 링이 달려 있죠.
So the nail would be used to hold the rod and the ring in place.
초상화에 쓰이는 거는 이 작은 두 가지 패턴이고 불화 같이 큰 그림에는 이렇게 큰 링이 달립니다.
So the two smaller ones are used normally in portraits, and the one on the largest one would be used in Buddhist painting.
그리고 또 특이한 것이 이 링은 여기가 옆에가 갈라져 있어요. 이렇게
One interesting thing about these rings are they are divided in the bottom,
갈라서 요 링을 끼우고 있는데요.
and the ring would be attached to the divided metal.
삼각형의 형태로 된 이제 이쪽에 그림이 판판한 쪽에 그림이 달리게 되죠.
The flat side will have the portrait attached,
그래서 구멍을 뚫은 다음에
and when the hole is made,
장식에다가
and the ornament and the
고리를 끼고
nail and the ring is attached,
이 고리는 이렇게 동그란 거에다가 이렇게 분리가 됩니다.
these can be disattached like this,
끼워서
assembled like this,
이 구멍에다가 집어넣고요.
put it in a decorative hole,
그리고 이거를 구멍을 뚫어놓은 축에다가 끼우게 됩니다.
and we will put it in a hole that was readily made in the rod.
그리고 뒤편을 보면은
And if you look at the back side,
아까의 그런 긴 쪽이 나오게 돼요.
the leftover part would come out.
그러면 이것을 이렇게 구부려서
And we can split each end,
두들겨서 판판하게 만들죠.
and then we will hammer it and make it flat.
그러니까 절대로 빠지지 않습니다.
And they will never come out or be detached.
그런 다음에 이제 상축에 대해서 조금 더 설명을 드리자면
A little bit more about 상축.
한국의 초상화는 유소라고 그림을 거는 끈이 있습니다.
Korean portraiture has a tassel called yuso, which was used to hang the painting to the wall.
이것은 장식을 하는 역할도 하고
This is for decorative purposes.
이렇게 연결이 돼서 그림을 거는 역할도 합니다.
And this will be also used to hang the painting on the wall.
그래서 이 고리 안에다가 끈을 집어넣을 때는
So when we are putting the string or the yuso in the ring,
이 유소만 특별히 제작하는 장인들이 조선시대부터 있었고요.
in Joseon Dynasty, we would have dedicated craftsmen just for making yuso.
그 다음에 끈을 낄 때는
When we're putting in the string or yuso into the ring,
구멍 안에다가 끈을 집어넣고 그 다음에 나머지 끈을 이렇게 갖고 가서 묶게 됩니다.
Yeah, we will loop it as such.
이렇게 해서 그림이 걸리게 되고요. 그리고 밑에 있는 나무 축에는
The under rod of the painting,
이러한 이러한 축수가 달리는데요. 보통 일반적으로 심플한 굉장히 지금 전시회장에서도 그림 밑에서 다 보실 수 있을 텐데 나무 축이 대부분입니다.
we have a rod and a decorative ornament, which is called chuksu, and you can actually see it in the exhibition, and they are normally used with wooden and very simple form.
단순한 모양의
Very
축에다가
simple,
구멍을 뚫어서
and they would have a middle hole,
구멍을 뚫어서 나무를 붙이게 되죠.
and then the wood would be attached within.
그런데 간혹 아주 굉장히 높은 양반이라든지 어진에는 옥으로 된 축을 썼습니다.
But in certain cases, for very high officials or kings, they would use jade.
이 옥은 이렇게 생긴 형태도 있고요.
There are these kind of shapes.
이거 실제로 유물에 사용된 형태랑 똑같이 제작을 한
This is a
레플리카입니다.
replica that was made.
그리고 옥축 중에서 또 재밌는 것은 옥은 깨지기 쉽기 때문에 이렇게 중간에 동그란 구멍을 뚫기 위해서는 잘못하면 옥이 깨지게 됩니다.
Because the jade is prone for shattering, sometimes they might shatter if you put a hole in the middle.
그래서 많은 옥축을 단 유물에는 이런 식으로 동그랗게 해서 구멍을 뚫은 것이 아니라 옥을 동그랗게 해서 양쪽을 잘라 버리고 중간에 구멍을 해서 나무를 깎아서 여기에다 끼우는 이러한 옥축이 많이 있습니다.
So in many cases, when jade is used for the rods, they would shape it as such so that the jade won't shatter and the wood would be carved in order to be fitted.
어진에도 이런 것이 20세기 초반에 수리된 거에는 이런 축이 달려 있었습니다.
In the king portraits of early 20th century, they would use these kind of systems.
자, 축은 여기까지 설명을 드렸고요. 그러면은 유소를 말씀을 드리자면 유소는 보통 시대에 따라서 색깔도 달라지고 크기도 달라집니다.
So more talking about yuso, yuso will vary during periods. They would vary in colors and sizes.
그 유소는 잠깐 이쪽으로 올까요? 지금 여기에서 보시는 것이 이 김중만의 오리지널 장왕 비단입니다.
So this is the original mounting 장왕 silk that was used in Kim Jung-man's portrait.
지금 보존 처리를 위해서 해체해 놓고 있는데요.
These are disassembled for conservation properties.
지금 이 비단은 지금 거기 샌프란시스코에서 전시하고 있는 오명항이라든지 이런 분무 공신에 쓰였던 비단이랑 문양도 똑같습니다.
So these silks and the patterns are the same as the ones that is in Oh Myung-hwang's meritorious officials that are exhibited in San Francisco at the
그리고
moment.
유소도 오명항 거랑 똑같죠.
And the yuso is also exactly the same as the one in Oh Myung-hwang's portrait.
그러니까 당시에 똑같은 것을 제작을 해서 나누어 썼던 것을 알 수 있습니다.
So that we can deduct that the same yuso and the same method was used during the period of the making.
보면은 의궤 기록을 보면 색깔도 빨간색, 녹색, 자주색 이런 색 여러 가지 실을 쓰였다고 정확한 양까지 기록되어 있습니다.
If you look at the documentation of Uigwe, it is written that red, green, and purple was used unanimously.
전시장에 있는 오명항의 유서를 다시 한번 확인하시면은 좋을 것 같습니다.
So that maybe you can look back at the exhibition and check out the yuso in Oh Myung-hwang's portrait.
축도
This is the rod, under rod.
어떻게 보여드려야 할지 잘
I'm not
모르겠네요.
sure how to show this.
이 끝에를 보여드릴까요?
Do you want to see the end side?
여기서 보여드릴게요. 이쪽으로 올까요? 여기서 보시면 이거 역시 굉장히 단순한 동그란 나무를 깎은 다음에 멋을 내는 거는 이쪽에서만 멋을 냈어요.
So this is a very simple wood carved in a cylinder format, so that all the decorative part would be on the end side.
여러분들이 이러한 디테일을 한번 생각하시고 전시의 유물을 보시면 좀 더 재밌을 것 같습니다.
I think it will be more interesting to now now revisiting the exhibition, thinking about these parts.
다음으로 조선시대 초상화를 보관한 함에 대해서 말씀드리겠습니다.
Now I would want to talk about the storage box that was used in the portraiture painting.
조선시대 상자는 두 가지 형태가 있는데요. 하나는
There are two types of shape in Joseon Dynasty storage box.
뚜껑이 이렇게 위가 얇은 나무판으로 한 장으로 돼 있어요.
So this one has a very flat shape,
그러니까 닫으면은 밀폐성이 별로 좋지 않겠죠.
so that when it's closed, it is not vacuumed or very closed off.
또 한 가지는
Another
수제.
format,
상자가 뚜껑이 이렇게 생겼습니다.
the lid looks as such.
그러니까 아까 상자보다는 더 밀폐성이 좋겠죠.
Now this is more sealed.
안에 그러니까 바깥에는 까맣게 흑칠을 하고
These are lacquered black and outside.
안에는 칠을 안 한 경우도 많고요.
Sometimes it is not colored in,
붉게 칠하거나 붉은 오칠을 하거나
or they might be colored in red lacquer,
아니면은 안에 파란색 종이를 붙였습니다.
or in some cases they would put blue
제가
paint,
지금
blue paper inside.
제가 지금
for the
파란
lining.
종이 붙인 샘플을 갖고 있지 않네요.
We do not have the blue paper sample at the moment.
그 다음에 지금 이 상자는 여기서 그냥 보여드려야 될 것 같아요.
This
좀
storage
높일까요?
box,
이 상자는 이렇게 합시다. 오케이. 이 상자는 열쇠 고리가 있어요.
this storage box, you can see there is a lock attached.
이 열쇠 고리는 조금 이렇게 될까요? 좀 줌으로 열쇠 고리가 보일까요?
If you look at the lock mechanism,
굉장히 조선시대 가구의 단순한
a
열쇠인데요.
very simple format of Joseon Dynasty's
이렇게
lock.
되는 거죠. 이렇게 해서 밀어내면은
If you push it,
빠지고
the lock will
열쇠가
detach
빠집니다. 그래서 이렇게 열리게 되죠.
and it'll open as such.
그래서 초상화를 집어넣는 이런 상자입니다.
And inside there will be the portrait stored.
이 상자는 조선시대 똑같은 오리지널이 있어서 지금 뒤에 보이고 있는 이 족자와 이 족자 상자인데 이 초상화도 레플리카고 이 상자도 레플리카입니다.
So these storage box and the painting behind you are exact replicas of the original.
지금 저희가 레플리카를 제작을 하면서 조선시대의 재료라든지 기법을 연구하는 좋은 기회가 되죠.
So while we're making replica paintings of Joseon Dynasty, it gives an opportunity for us to study how it was originally made.
다음으로 김중만 초상화 보존 처리하는 걸 보여드리겠습니다.
Next, I would like to introduce you to the process of conservation treating of Kim Jung-man's actual portrait.
그걸 보여주셔야 될 것 같은데요. 화면이 안 나오고 있죠. 요거를 보여주세요. 지금 이 초상화입니다.
This is the
이-
actual portrait photo.
보존 처리를 위해서 초상화에서 장황 부분을 다 해체하고
For conservation, we have removed the silk mounting parts,
그리고 그림만 남긴
and
상태입니다.
now only the painting is remaining.
지금 보존 처리 중이라서 약간 보시기가 그런데요.
We are in the process of treating this painting.
이러한 얼굴입니다.
The front part would look like this.
그리고 혹시 이 부분을 비춰주실 수 있으세요? 지금 이 얼굴을 뒤에서 보존 처리하고 있는 중인데
We are conserving the reverse side of the painting.
저희가 보존 처리를 하는 것은 처음에 제작됐었을 때 상황을 거꾸로 하는 작업입니다.
When we're conserving a painting, we would do the exact opposite steps of a painting that was created.
작가가 그림을 그린 다음에 장황을 해서 족자를 만든 것을 저희는 그림을 그러니까 족자에서 장황을 해체합니다.
So when the actual painting is made, the artist would make a painting and then will be mounted. But when we're conservating, we will remove the mounting first and then treat the painting.
그리고 작가가 그린 그림을 그 장황사가 종이에다 풀칠을 해서 배접을 했습니다.
So when the artist is done painting, the mounting craftsman would put a
시단이죠.
backing layer in the backside of the
어.
painting.
그림은 이렇게 얇은 비단에다 그려지기 때문에 서양의 그림처럼 캔버스처럼 튼튼하지가 않아서 뒤에다가 종이를 풀칠해서 덧붙이는 배접이라는 작업이 꼭 필요하게 됩니다.
Because the silk used in the paintings are very, very thin and delicate, and unlike the canvases, they would not have been sturdy. So we need a backing layer process called 배접 in order to make the painting more sturdy.
근데 배접할 때는 소맥 전분풀, 밀가루 전분풀을 사용하게 되죠.
We would use wheat
스타치.
starch. We will use starch as glue to adhere the painting to the paper.
시간이 지나면서 접착력이 약해지게 됩니다.
The starch will lose its adhesive purposes during the time passing.
그런데 조선시대 초상화의 가장 손상의 원인은 물감입니다.
The biggest factor of damage within the painting would be the pigments.
여기 할까요? 그냥 옷에 사용된 관복에 사용된 녹색 물감이 말라카이트가 사용이 됐습니다.
The green color used for the clothing in this portrait, the material is malachite.
말라카이트는 구리를 주성분으로 하는데 그 구리 주성분이 구리로 바뀌면서 뒤에 있는 배접지까지도 손상을 시키게 됩니다.
The main factors of malachite is copper, and when the copper is oxidized, the oxidation will affect the paper lining as well.
동양의 서화는 그 뒤에 붙어 있는 배접지를 제거를 하고 다시 그러니까 배접지가 손상이 되면은 배접지를 제거하고 다시 새로운 보존성이 좋은 배접지를 붙임으로써 생명을 연장해 갑니다.
In Eastern Asian painting and conservation process, we would have to remove the backing paper and then reattach new sets of paper in order to make the longevity of the painting.
그래서 저는 이번 지금 이 상태는 배접지를 제거하고 있는 장면입니다.
So as you can see now, we are removing the backing paper.
지금 보시면 배접지가 잘 제거되는 곳도 있고 이 녹청 부분 같은 경우는 굉장히 배접지가 제거되기 힘듭니다.
In certain parts, the backing paper is very easy to remove, but in the green parts, it is quite hard to remove the paper.
그리고 우리가 한국의 그림은 닥지로 다 사용이 됐다고 하지만 실제로 조선시대 왕실 초상화라든지 초상화에는 중국 종이가 사용이 되었습니다.
We normally think about when the paper used in Joseon Dynasty is mulberry paper, but if you look at the documents and also the king's portraits, they would use on silk, they would use Chinese paper.
중국지는 의궤 기록을 보면은 대나무 섬유의 종이가 쓰였다고 기록이 되어 있습니다.
The Chinese paper in the documentation of Uyghur is written that made out of bamboo paper.
그런데 이 대나무 종이는 닥지보다 섬유가 짧아서 배접지 제거하기가 굉장히 힘듭니다.
The Chinese bamboo paper, the fiber are relatively very short in comparison with the mulberry paper, so they are quite hard and difficult to remove from the painting.
그래서 제가 배접지를 하는 방법은 화면의 앞면을 임시로 고정시켜 놓고
So the process of removing the backing paper would be, we will temporarily fix the painting from the front.
그래서 조금씩 수분을 주면서 핀셋으로 조금씩 걷어냅니다.
And we will hydrate little pieces by pieces and then remove the paper with the pincet.
굉장히 시간이 걸리고 꼼꼼히 해야 하는 작업이죠.
This is a very delicate and time-consuming process.
저희가 배접지 제거를 하면서 재미있는 사실을 발견을 하는데요.
When we're removing the paper, we come into finding interesting things.
지금 얼굴의 배체를 어떤 사람은 전체를 다칠한 초상화도 있고 어떤 것은 눈만 따로 한 것도 있고 이 김중만 초상은 눈과 입술을 따로 배치를 하였습니다.
So it's interesting if you look at the reverse painting side of the face. Sometimes the reverse painting will be done in the whole face, while as in this Kim Jung-man's painting, you can see that the eye and the lips are painted separately.
아마 분무공신 제작할 때 이러한 제작 기법이 유행이지 않았나 싶습니다.
We assume that when this meritorious officers' paintings were made, these kind of methods would be in fashion.
저는 이 배접지를 다 제거를 한 다음에
When we remove all the rice paper from the painting,
라이스 페이퍼 하셨어요?
sorry, not rice paper,
이 손상이 간 부분들, 없는 부분들
if you look at these
음.
parts where there
이런
is
부분에는
damaged,
비단을 똑같은 비단을 제작을 해서 메울 겁니다.
we will make the exact replica silk and then we will put the silk within the damaged holes of a painting.
유물과 똑같은 조직의 비단을 제작을 해서
We will make the exact same silk that is used in the painting
그런 다음에 열화를 시킵니다.
and then we will age the silk.
지금 이거는 제가 조금 햇빛에 계속 노출시키고 있는 자연 노출 방법, 자연 열화 방법입니다.
This is a natural aging process while I would put it
그렇죠.
under the sun.
그러면은 제가 이제 여기 비단 그 조직을 현미경으로 한번 보여드리겠습니다.
I would like to show you a microscope of the formats of the silk.
그림의
formation
바탕
of the silk.
조직을 보여드리겠습니다. 그림을 그리는 비단은 확연이라 그래서 이렇게 생겼습니다.
The silk used in painting is called hwagyeon, specially made silk for painting.
이것은 중국이나 일본이나 다 똑같습니다.
These are same as Eastern Asian, Japan and China.
그 다음에 이제 그림의 손상의 원인이 되고 있는 이 녹색 물감 말라카이트는
The malachite, that is because the reason of the damage.
보시는 바와 같이 입자가 굉장히 굵죠.
As you can see, the particles are quite large.
이 말라카이트는 입자가 굵어서 접착하기 힘든 것도 문제이지만 산화하는 것도 문제입니다.
The malachite's problem while applying would be the largeness of the pigments, but also at the same time, the oxidization would be another problem as well.
이에 비해서 얼굴이나 그 옷깃에 쓰이고 있는 백색은
In comparison, if you look at the whites used in the sleeves and also the face, if you look at the microscope,
화면이 바뀌어야 될 것 같은데요. 입자가 굉장히 가늘죠. 조금 더 펼쳐 보여주시겠어요?
you can see the particles are quite small.
입자가 보이지 않는 뒤에서 배치된 부분입니다.
This is a very fine pigment, and this is the reverse side.
그리고 얼굴 부분은
If you look at the facial part,
얼굴 부분입니다.
this is the facial part's reverse painting.
조선시대 초상화는 뒷면에서 굉장히 완벽하게 배치를 하고 앞에서는 연하게 채색을 하는 그 방법을 취했습니다.
Joseon Dynasty's portraiture painting method would be the reverse painting would be done maculously, and then we will have a very fine painting in the front side of the painting.
그래서 그것이 조선시대 초상화가 담담하게 보이는 그러한 장점이죠.
That is the reason why Joseon Dynasty's portraiture would look very, very simple.
자, 이 과정이 끝나면 다시 아까 보여드렸던 오리지널 비단을 붙이고 원래 재료를 다 붙여서 그러니까 이것이 처음에 만들어졌던 그 당시의 모습을 그대로 재현하게 됩니다.
So when this process is over, we would put the backing layer and then reattach all the original silk in the style that we had.
자, 이 정도로 한국의 초상화 아마 시간이 된 것 같으세요. 설명을 드렸는데 어떨까요? 질문이 있으면 질문 받을까요?
I think our time is up and we are ready for questions.
Okay.
연결이 안 되나요?
No,
네네.
So I think I have a question actually because I requested the Kim Jung-man, the finished full-length hanging scroll portraits when I organized the exhibition because it's a very important painting to date the Asian Art Museum's draft portraits later than 1728. Could you explain a little bit about what condition, when you received the portrait, what conditions you were concerned about and what were really challenging in conserving kind of, so how did you assess when you received it, and which time period are you in the middle of the whole project or is it in the beginning? 제가 그러면 지금 So I will translate in my mother tongue. 박준 선생님 쪽에 전에도 여쭤본 건데 그 이제 김중만 초상화를 언제 받으셨는지 이 프로젝트를 그리고 숙제 받으신 거 그리고 받으셨을 때 상태가 어땠는지 그리고 받으셨을 때 그 상태에 대해서 그리고 어떤 게 가장 주안점이고 어떤 게 가장 걱정되셨던 부분이었는지 그리고 지금 상태가 그 몇 년, 그러니까 1년 프로젝트인지 2년 프로젝트의 어느 단계인지도 좀 설명해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
글쎄요. 이 프로젝트, 이 김중만의 보존 처리는 조금 행정상의 문제가 있었습니다.
We had some technical, not technical, but bureaucratical difficulties while we were doing Kim Jung-man portrait.
그래서 이 작품을 저희한테 온 거는 올해 왔죠.
The portrait itself came to us this year.
그래서 초상화 보존 처리로서는 아주 일반적인 보존 처리 내용이에요.
It was a very normal process for conservation work.
근데 이 작품의 경우에는 중간에서 조금 여러 단계를 걸치면서 그러니까 이게 뭐라고 설명을 해야 될까? 조금 다른 분이 조금 만지셨어요. 이 작품을 조금 다른 분이 만지셔서
During the line of steps, we assumed that another person did a little bit of conservation work on the painting.
그래서 그런 다음에 저한테 왔기 때문에 그러니까 이 초상화가 제작 당시 그대로의 모습이었다면은 배접지 벗기기도 훨씬 쉬웠고 작업하기도 훨씬 편했을 텐데 저한테 오기 전에 무언가의 작업이 있었기 때문에 그 작업이 무엇인가를 알아내야 하고 그거를 극복하는데 조금 지금 곤란함이 있습니다.
So normally if it was in the original form when we received the painting, it would have been much more easier to remove the reverse side paper. But because somebody who we do not know and how it was conserved, that it's much more harder for us to make the conservation work and also removing the backing paper.
그래서 지금의 작업은 이 배접지를 제거하는데 굉장히 지금 애를 먹고 있기 때문에 솔직히 예정은 올해까지였는데 아마 올해까지는 힘들 것 같습니다.
Because of this technical difficulties and prior conservation work, we have trouble removing the backing paper. So we were assuming that this job would be ended about this year, but we assume that it'll take a little bit longer than that.
그래서 작업 공정으로는 이 배접지를 벗기고 첫 번째 배접을 끝내게 되면은 거의 뭐 4분의 3은 끝났다고 할 수 있죠.
So in terms of progress, if we remove all the backing layer paper and then do a first layer of backing paper, the new backing paper, it will be about third of a fourth process would be done.
그리고 우리가 지금 배접을 할 때는 닥지가 최고로 좋다고 해서 닥지를 많이 사용하는데 이 조선시대 초상화에는 대나무 종이가 사용이 되기 때문에 대나무 종이를 제작을 해서 사용합니다.
We normally think mulberry paper is best for backing layers, but in terms of portraiture, the bamboo paper would be used, so that we would have to make the bamboo paper in order back to apply the backing layer.
그래서 섬유마다 닭섬유가 갖고 있는 장점이 있고 대나무 섬유가 갖고 있는 장점이 있기 때문에 제가 주문 제작하는 종이는 대나무와 닭섬유를 반반 섞은 그런 혼합지를 주문을 해서 두 섬유의 장점을 취한 종이를 배접지로 주문해서 쓰고 있습니다.
Mulberry fiber and bamboo fiber each they have their own traits and their good parts, good traits, so that when I'm custom ordering these papers for the paintings, I would put half and half of bamboo and mulberry fiber in order to enhance the effects of the fibers.
물론 조선시대에도 추상화에는 그 대나무 종이를 썼고 불화에는 닭 종이를 썼습니다.
In Joseon Dynasty, in terms of portraiture painting, bamboo paper was used, and in terms of Buddhist painting, we would use mulberry paper.
그래서 저는 지금도 이제 작업을 할 때는 제작 당시에 사용되었던 무엇 때문인가 그 장점이 있어서 사용되었을 테니까 저도 그 장점을 잘 연구해서 분석한 다음에 그 장점에 맞는 재료를 만들어서 사용합니다.
So when I'm conserving any kind of paintings, the materials that were originally used would have been used for a good purpose and traits. So when I'm doing the conservation work, I would research the good traits of the materials used, and then we would want to make that again.
그래서 문화재 보존에서 이러한 재료를 분석하고 이 분석에 맞는 장점을 뽑아내고 그래서 이 장점을 맞춘 것을 장인에게 주문하게 되는데 이것을 만들어주는 장인들도 요즘은 문화재를 공부해준 종이 제작은 저희 제자가 종이 뜨는 사람이 되어서 만들어주고 있습니다.
So when we are doing conservation works, we are also analyzing thoroughly about the good traits and the materials used, and then we would ask the craftsmen to make the materials. But now these days, even the craftsmen are conservative measures, because these papers are also made by one of Jisun Park's students who are actually working in the paper craftsman field.
그러니까 제가 조금 답이 너무 길어져서 죄송한데 그 문화재 보존을 하는 입장에서는 옛날 것을 끊어진 전통과 재료를 연구해서 그것의 장단점을 밝혀내고 이거를 보존 처리에 적용하고 이것을 만들어주는 사람들을 교육하고 양성하는 이런 이 모든 것이 다 문화재 보존을 하는 사람들이 해야 할, 왜냐하면 우리가 과거의 유물들을 접할 수 있는 유일한 그룹이기 때문에 이 작업까지도 다 포함이 되어야 한다고 생각합니다.
I strongly think that in order to conservative work would be not just the painting conservative, but thinking about the good traits and the bad traits that was used within the material, and then asking a craftsman to make the materials. But not only that, also educating the craftsmen and then building a system of materials and the process as well. And these as a whole would be a very important part of the conservation, because we have been disconnected by history, so that we are actually rethinking about and reanalyzing the history and then making it happen again.
We have some questions, more questions, 질문 더 있는데요. So the first question is, if there are losses to the paint layer, would you retouch or paint in those losses to restore the imagery? If so, what materials do you use? 그러니까 그 안료가 누락되는 부분에 그 색칠을 새로 하시던지 아니면 어떻게 그 리터치를 하시는지 하고, 그리고 재료는 그렇게 된다면 어떤 재료를 쓰시는지. 안료 방락됐을 때.
안료 방락됐을 때는 방락 형태에 따라서 그 접착시키는 방법은 다른데요. 쓰이는 재료는 동물성 악효입니다. 왜냐하면 그림을 그렸을 때 동물성 악효가 사용이 되었기 때문에.
It is varied from the patterns and the status of the detachment of the pigments, but we would apply them with animal glue because animal glue was originally used in the portrait or the painting.
그리고 무슨 질문이죠? 맞죠? 보채를 그러니까 없어진 부분을 그러니까 오리지널 물감은 악교로 접착을 시켜서 있던 그대로 하고요.
The original pigments, when they are gone, we will use animal glue to replace it.
그리고 이 없어진 부분은 똑같은 재질의 비단을 메워서 본래 한 장의 비단이었던 것처럼 만들어야 하는데 여기 이제 하얀 비단이 들어가면은 굉장히 눈에 띄겠죠.
So when the whole part of the painting is missing, we would have to make the silk to exactly fit into the hole. But when we use new silk, it would be a very obvious tone change.
그래서 이것이 그 자리에 있었던 비단이 그러니까 기본적으로는 색칠이 된 비단이 아니라 바깥에 있는 본래 쓰였던 비단이 갈색으로 변화한 색깔로 바꾸게 됩니다. 칠하게 됩니다.
So the hole is replaced by a new silk, but the silk are not pigmented or colored. They would be aged in order to match the original painting because the painting silk has been originally white and then turned in darker shade during the time passing.
그래서 저희가 보채를 할 때는 그러니까 빨간색 안에 구멍이 있을 수도 있고 파란색 안에 구멍이 있을 수도 있겠죠.
So while we are painting in the holes, you can have a red color within a hole within a red color and a hole within a blue color.
그러니까 그 홀 안에 있는 구멍은 비단이 가장 갈변된 색깔을 칠해주고
So that we will replace the hole with the silk that is most close to the original state.
그다음에 이건 살짝 기술적인 문제인데 붉은색 안에는 살짝 붉은 기를 넣어주고 파란색 안에는 살짝 푸른 기를 넣어줍니다.
But it's a slightly technical thing, but within a hole within the red pigment, we will use a slightly redder fabric, and then within the blue hole,
not pigment,
blue
color.
part, big color.
Yeah.
Sorry, not pigments, color. We will use a slightly tinted blue within the hole.
그래서 우리가 그 메우는 부분에는 입자가 있는 안료를 사용하지 않습니다.
So when we are putting in the hole, we do not use pigments that has particles.
그러니까 염료 계통의 입자가 작은 것을 사용하게 되죠.
We use very fine pigments that are mostly almost like dye quality.
그래서 가장 좋은 것은 보채 색깔을 입힌 다음에 사진을 흑백 사진으로 찍어봤을 때 같은 톤으로 눈에 띄지 않는 것을 목표로 합니다.
So our goal is to, when we are done finishing touching up the holes, if we take a photo in black and white or gray tone, the tone will be exact.
근데 가끔 완벽하게 그 상처를 없애주는 경우가 있는데 이전에 라크마에서 보존 처리한 브라 같은 경우는 도난을 위해서 칼로 잘랐었어요. 칼로 자른 자국이 있기 때문에 그거는 보기에도 너무 가슴 아파서 그 칼로 자른 부분은 완벽하게 안 보이게 했죠.
So in very rare cases, we would make it look like nothing has happened. In terms of when we did the conservation job for Buddhist painting in Lakma Museum, the painting was damaged by knife because the thieves were trying to remove them forcefully, so that the knife damage was too severe to look at, so that she decided to make it very pristine.
Thank you. We have several questions now. I think the simple one I would like to start is the bamboo paper used for the first lining and as well as the final lining. 그 저기 대나무 종이 특히 중국에서 해서 배접 종이한 게 그 여러 겹의 배접을 할 경우 어느 부분에 들어가는 게 첫 번째인지 아니면 모든 게 그 겹이 다 대나무 종이로 하는 건지.
첫 번째에 대나무 종이는 반드시 기록이 돼 있고 어진 같은 경우 그리고는 닭종이가 들어가기도 하고 대나무 종이가 들어가기도 하는데 태저어진처럼 큰 초상화는 제일 마지막 비단은 배접으로 돼 있었어요. 제일 마지막 바깥에 오는 비단 배접을 비단으로 했었어요.
So normally, if you look at the documentation, the first layer would be bamboo, and then the next layer would be either mulberry or bamboo, according to the documentation. But if you look at the Tejo's portrait, which is a very larger portrait, the very last backing layer would be done in silk.
감사합니다. 지금 we received a question in Korean. 뒷면을 완벽하게 채색하고 앞면을 담담하게 채색하는 것은 한국 조선 시대 초상화의 특징이라고 할 수 있는 건가요? 그래서 painting the back, reverse coloring perfectly, but from the front, it's like delicately, a little bit lightly coloring. That aspect, is it one of the characteristics of Joseon Dynasty portraits?
제가 샘플을 좀 보여드릴게요.
I would like to show you some samples.
물감을 바로 칠했을 때는 굉장히 이렇게 그러니까 좀 너무 생경하게 보이는.
When we apply the pigments
이거 말고
just
이거,
on the
이거를
top,
주세요.
the pigment is very vibrant in color, or sometimes a little bit too strong of a color.
지금 이게 태저어진의 그 흉배에 있는 데인데요.
This is the middle part of the Tejo's portrait sample.
우리가 이 금 부분을 보면은
If you look at the gold sections,
뒷부분은 이렇게 생겼습니다.
the back, the
번쩍번쩍하죠.
reverse side look like this. They are very shiny.
그러니까 이 번쩍번쩍한 거를
The
앞에서
shiny,
보면은
if you look in the front
이렇게
side,
점잖게 보이거든요.
it looks much more
얼굴 좀 보여주세요.
noble and more
조용하게.
more quiet, more less vibrant.
그리고 여러분들이 아까 사진에서 보신 태저어진인데요.
This is the Tejo portrait sample.
태저어진이 조금 더 당겨주시겠어요? 태저어진이 이렇게 생겼는데
This looks as such in the front side.
실제로 뒤의 모습은 이렇습니다.
This is the reverse side.
이게 배체입니다.
This is the reverse painting method.
얼굴색을 태저어진처럼 이렇게 하얗게 칠하는 경우도 있고 약간 붉은색을 섞어서 핑크로 칠하는 경우도 있습니다.
Sometimes they are colored on all white, or sometimes they will add a little bit of red and make it a little bit of pinkish tone.
그래서 아까 김중만 초상 같은 경우는 입이랑 눈이랑 따로 했는데 이 경우는 한 가지 색깔로 다 칠했죠.
You can see that Kim Jung-man's portrait, the eyes and the lips were not painted and different in color, while as this one, they're in block color.
그래서 제가 지금 샘플을 만들어 봤는데
This is a sample.
이거는 뒤에서 전부 칠했고요.
These are all done in the reverse side.
뒤에서 칠했을 때는 이렇게 보이는데 아무것도 칠하지 않고 지금 사진으로는 잘 안 보이는
It
것
might not
같은데
show well in the picture.
아무것도 칠하지 않았을
This-
경우에도 이렇게 앞에서 보입니다.
This is the part where nothing is colored in the front side.
그러니까 이게 비단 그림을 배체로 하는 이유이죠.
This is the reason why we do the reverse painting method.
그리고 지금 샌프란시스코에서 전시하고 있는 유지 초보는
The draft portrait that is being displayed at the San Francisco Museum at the moment,
칠해봤을 때 실크처럼 이렇게 비치는 느낌이 같기 때문에
when you're applying the pigments, they are almost like silk in transparency, the paper.
유지 초본의 뒤쪽에서도 이제 배체를 해보고 그랬던 것 같습니다.
That is why we assume that they were the reverse painting on the paper, because it was transparent.
제가 너무 답이 맨날 길어서 죄송합니다.
Sorry for the long answer.
But the next question is very short, but I imagine you will explain lengthy. But can you estimate how old was the last treatment and remounting according to the old materials? 그러니까 이렇게 보시면 연대 측정이 되는지 가장 가장 최근에 했던 배접 연대 측정이나 아니면 다시 그 장황을 했던 거를 추적을 하실 수 있는지 데이트를 어떻게 하시는지
그래서
시기를.
오리진은 그 제작 당시의 원형인지 아닌지, 그리고 20세기에 한 것인지, 그거는 재료를 보면은 알 수가 있죠. 그리고 특히 공신도상 같은 경우는 비슷한 시대에 비슷하게 제작된 유물들이 여러 점 있기 때문에 만약에 원형이 손상되었어도 그러니까 그 친구들, 그 당시 제작된 친구들의 것을 보고 재현하게 됩니다.
So if we first determine if it's in the original format or it has been conserved in throughout the 20th century, if it has been conserved in the 20th century, we would detect the age by the materials that are used in the process, and also in terms of meritorious officers. Portraiture, they were normally done within the same period. So if one portrait is damaged, the original shape, we would deduce it by other paintings that was made within the same era.
So, thank you so much. I think it's time to conclude this program. So Sheila.
Oh,
It's
wow.
hard. It's difficult to end. I know we have so many questions.
So
as
many
as a
questions.
curator and conservators, we have so many questions. And I have worked with Professor Park Ji-sun for more than 15 years at LACMA and at the Asian Art Museum. As a curator, I always kind of rely upon you, not only for a technical kind of thing or remounting, but also very important clues to determine the paintings and calligraphy works in the museum's collection. So thank you so much. 감사합니다 in Seoul and all the crew in Seoul. I know that the Professor Park Ji-sun students and also the filming crew, they are in their studio, kind of like, and thank you so much. Also, all the members at the Asian Art Museum, or the or the filming AV crew, and also Allison in education, and also Juwon Park in the Korean art department, and of course Sheila and Shiho. And do you have other people to thank?
Oh, it's countless. Oh, to those new to conservation, you have just witnessed what makes a conservator's heart soar. We thrive on discovery and sharing of knowledge to better our preservation strategies. Oh, my deepest gratitude to our team of education programming experts and technology wizards, both here and in Korea. You orchestrated this event and ensured that technology gods looked favorably on us all. To our guests, thank you for spending your time with us. If you enjoyed this program, please let us know on social media. And to my distinguished panelist speakers, thank you. It has been an honor and privilege to share this virtual stage, and I look forward to our continued collaboration. To everyone gathered here today, be well and know that you are always welcome here at the Asian Art Museum. Thank you.
Thank you.